How many teach online? All of you? Everybody? Usually? No? Okay, cool. Hey, how you doing? So I began my journey as an online person whenever I was a student. I got my, yes! There it is. I got my degree from here, my associates, when I was very, very pregnant with my first kid. And I had planned on going to UWF to pursue like musical performance. But things changed because I had children, and I had dreams of getting my bachelor's and my master's degree, and eventually I'm hoping to get my doctorate, which will be online. But I didn't have any sort of options because I lived here, my family was here, I'm having a baby, but I wanted to continue with my education. So I found a really great program through Fort Hays State University, and they have one of the oldest online programs in the country. Fun fact, my mom actually worked on her master's there, and I lived in married student housing with her when she was going to school and I was in high school. So I got to live on the campus of the college I got my bachelor's degree from, even though I didn't do it while I was a student there. So when I was there, I was really introduced into the online world, and their online program was really great, and everything was set out so nicely, and everything that the teachers did, like, made it so I didn't feel as alone as I could have had I been, in a class that wasn't as conducive to, helping people feel included and everything. And a lot of those things came through discussion boards, which I was never a fan of as a student, so I try to make it a little bit more interesting. I give them feedback and tell them things and all that, but I took the things that I learned from Fort Hays, and then I went to Arizona State University for my master's, and that's when I first encountered Canvas, and I was like, because I was on Blackboard with Fort Hays, and I didn't particularly like it as a student, but it worked, and I was like, all right, this is fine. But when I got to Canvas and seeing how the instructors, the professors had everything set up, I took those ideas when I became an adjunct here, and I started online as an adjunct. I didn't have any in-person classes, and I took everything that my professors in graduate school and my undergraduate had done, and I took the best things that I liked as a student, and I went straight from a master's into teaching. Like, there was only a couple of months in between, and those in-between months was prep. So I graduated, went straight into it, and I had all these ideas fresh from my own education as a student, and so I was able to kind of put it into the way that I put my online classes and now my face-to-face classes, but it seems to work because, you asked me to come talk about it, so that's what I'm going to do. But really what I did is I just took what I thought worked, and I based it off of my own education in my field. I got a master in liberal studies. Hold on, I have $100,000 in my pocket. I don't want to melt it. I was going to put it in the computer, and then I forgot. So what I did is I wanted to make sure that everybody felt welcome, because sometimes when I was doing my online studies, it can feel kind of isolated. You don't really feel as much of a connection with other students. The professor seems farther away, and you just kind of do things alone, and you're by yourself, and it can get a little bit, it's different from an in-person class where you have that immediate interaction with the professor, with the other students. So what I wanted to do is let them see my face first. So I went and I had that Welcome to the Humanities. I'll show you my little video that I made in my office, so you can have an example of what it is. But I didn't want anything too long because students have a short attention span. Anything over like 3 to 5 minutes, they start drifting, or they fast forward, and then my voice sounds weird, which they probably all fast forward. So I just do a quick little 39-second introduction, and here's what I did. And so it's just a little thing so that they can get to know me first, and then I have other stuff about myself in there. But here is an example of a welcome video that I did.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Intro to the Humanities. I'm Professor Borella, and I am super excited about this semester with you. We are going to talk about all of my favorite things, all the most creative things that people have done throughout history, from art to music to dance to sculpture, philosophy, architecture, mythology, all sorts of things that are just amazing, and I'm excited to share those things with you. And before we get started, I'd really like for you to look through Canvas to make sure that you're acquainted with our online classroom. Make sure that you go through the syllabus and take the syllabus quiz, and I will see you around.
So that's just what I put on there, so they can see me. Next to that, I have, of course, I'm just going to like kind of show you this and poke in where I put my interactions and everything. So after I have that welcome video start here, I wanted it to be short so it could just be a little blip. Hey, who am I? This is what we're going to be studying. Go through Canvas. I used to do a really long video going through everything through Canvas, and I realized people weren't really watching it because I do YouTube links, and you can see how many people watch it, and I'm like, nobody's really watching this. It's very long. So I decided just to say, go ahead and do this part on your own rather than going through it, and I haven't had any difference in my classes. So the shorter videos work better, I think, as far as if you can make them shorter. My lecture videos are like, lecture length. But with that, I feel like it's a good introduction to just say, hey, here I am. It's not too long. It's 39 seconds long. You can do that. Then, of course, I have navigating the course Class for Success, and it has resources. I have on there telling them about the syllabus, contacting online support for Canvas, because I don't want anybody to feel like they're questioning of, am I doing this the right way? What am I doing wrong with Canvas? Because as a student, I came up across different problems here and there, and I would ask my professor, hey, I don't know what's going on with Canvas, and sometimes they would know the answer and sometimes they didn't, and they would refer me to like online support. And so I make sure that my students know you have support online, not just through me. And I'll tell them, I say, I would love to help you with all the technical stuff, but it's out of my wheelhouse. I don't know anything about it, so you can tell me what's going on, but keep me looped in, but don't because it'll be too deflated if I can't answer this question. Yeah, so I make sure that they have those online support systems in place, not just me, not just other students, but support like with online support, the Learning Commons, and of course I have a thing about plagiarism. This isn't exactly, it aids student engagement, but something that I really press in my class is don't plagiarize and don't use AI. And everybody knows, well, it's stealing, it's academic fraud, whatever. Everybody knows that, and it still doesn't really deter those who are determined to cheat. So what I do is I take time, especially in my in-person classes, I really talk about it a lot, but I tell them I am teaching a class. The humanities is about all of history. And in history, we see people in power who are always trying to, get more and more power while the people in the underclass are, being silenced. And I say, you're going to learn about all of these different dynamics and how people want to control each other. And basically what you're doing when you cheat or when you use AI is you're letting somebody else silence you. You're giving up your own voice, saying that your voice does not matter and what you have to contribute is not mattering, and that's not true. My students each have an individual voice, and each one of those voices is important to adding to the overall conversations that we have, like in discussion boards and stuff. So I really kind of drive it home that this is about you using your voice. You're in a safe place where you can say whatever you want. I have people do, I feel like doing this also gives students permission to explore their own minds, because right now people are sort of in education, earlier in education, not so much higher education, because critical thinking comes into play there, but students that I get seem to really know how to study for and pass tests, but when it comes to the critical analysis parts of my papers, they don't know how to do that. So I give them permission to do that through my plagiarism talk and my AI talk, and saying, this is where you get to really explore your own mind, and it's up to you to be able to find those rabbit holes and really dive into them. And I've had a lot of success explaining plagiarism that way, and I feel like student engagement really rises whenever they're all, engaging their own minds rather than copying and pasting somebody else's stuff. And I'm like, I know you didn't write that. You didn't do that. So that's another way. My plagiarism talk, I kind of have found that it helps with student engagement because they're given permission to free their own mind, I feel. So a lot of people kind of resonate with that because they're like, oh, I do have a voice. I do have something to say. And so that, you know, again, like what I just said, it kind of aids in that participation because people aren't afraid to say what they think about certain topics. Go back home. All right, and then I've got the syllabus here. Of course, everyone has a syllabus that just goes through everything that I do. As you know, you probably all have syllabi as well. And then I've got information on the textbook access. Then I've got Meet the Professor, which is another part that I have in there because I want my students to kind of know a little bit more about me. And so I've got my information in there of how they can contact me because I make sure that I always put in all of my courses at the end of directions. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm just an email away. And in my course evaluations from students, I've had a lot of students comment on how they feel like I'm very readily available to them because I check my email really. I'm obsessive about it because I don't like things hanging over my head. So I'm really good at keeping up with emails and also the inbox over here. And so students know that they can contact me anytime. They do know that I don't work on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so they need to get their questions in earlier. But if they do have a question that they, and then of course here's my teaching philosophy and my bio. I'm not gonna read that to you. It's just about me. Like, I like this, and when I was a kid, my mom taught me about the humanities and stuff like that. She really did. I have to owe everything to her because she even paid for me to walk with my master's degree. That was her gift to me, and I was like, I would never be able to go to Arizona otherwise, so that was cool. Well, I have a frequently asked questions place where they can go. I usually have something called the forum where people, it's an ungraded discussion board where students can go and have conversations with each other, get to know one another, or they can ask each other questions if I'm not available because it's the weekend. And people utilize this quite a bit. And this is one of the things that I got from graduate school. It was called hallway conversations is what she did. Because when you're in a face-to-face traditional class, you talk to the other students outside of class, like maybe at the end of class or right before class, although now a lot of them are on their phones, but this forum makes it so they don't talk as much, which is kind of like how, you know, you come in and say good morning and they're like, good morning. But, okay, where was I? I got a little bit off topic. Oh yes, so these hallway conversations that people usually have in class, they don't have that online, so I have the forum, which so those hallway conversations make it so that they can ask each other questions. I go in there as well and talk to them. It's like basically just an open forum for any sort of conversation. I go in there, I answer questions. If somebody else hasn't gotten to it, I frequently check it. And then we also have my frequently asked questions, and of course that's just telling them basic things.
Yeah. So the forum is just like an open discussion board?
Yeah, ungraded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that idea. That's something.
Yeah, it's been pretty successful.
Tell them they can do that because they have access to each other. Okay.
Yeah, I've told students that they can contact each other through the inbox, but I don't really know that they do that with one another. But having a forum where it's less like direct, talking to other students and just randomly emailing some online student that you've never met before to ask a question, they don't really do that because, you know, they don't even like talking on the phone anymore. They only like to text. So direct communication can be a little bit more difficult. So this forum idea, especially when I was a student, it helped a lot because I was able to get answers quicker. My professors were really good at responding to emails, so I try to emulate that. But this discussion board that's open for them to be able to just kind of have a little community within the online environment has really, I've seen a lot of success with it and answering questions as well. So it just says this discussion board is a space to connect with classmates and discuss anything related to the course. If you have a question or concern, there's a good chance others might have the same question or even better, may already have the answer. I will monitor the forum during school hours and will assist if there are any questions that need to be answered. This is not a graded assignment, but an additional resource to support your success in the course. So that's basically what I have. Does anybody have any questions about the forum or anything else that I've talked about so far? I want 3 questions. Yes.
Can you show us the student question? Like, can you show us one that they were active within? Like, what type of questions they asked?
I'm trying to think of, because I don't have it, I don't know if I have it on my online class this semester. I'm trying to think, I think I do. I haven't gotten any messages this semester in it. And I think that maybe, oh wait, I can't get to any other courses. But they ask questions like, what time is this due? What are the criteria for this? Does anybody have any clarification on these things and the directions? Or I have also had people share things that they came across that reminded them of material that they went on. My favorites are whenever people go on vacation and they happen to see like artwork that we talk about. And I've had people send pictures and say, look what I found, guys, and oh, here's an article that I found. So it is a wide range of things that people use it for. Sorry I can't pull it up. I don't know why. This is just not working this time because first of all, this is not a real course. So there's no people in it. But yeah, that's my forum idea. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I've taken classes where we had student forums and there's a lot of engagement. Like someone there were nursing classes, but questions about medications or a group project, even pictures, like not of real patients, but of like skin issues, if it's something that we were studying. And there was a lot of engagement in that class. I've taken classes where maybe at the beginning of the semester they'll say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and then nothing else. But for the most part, they're well received.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as a student because it felt like I was part of a community rather than just being by myself in an online environment that felt very stale. It kind of gave a little bit of life to it. Of course, it's never going to be the same as an in-person class, but as a student and then witnessing it as a professor, I just feel like it gives that extra life to it that people, it's a small thing, but it really has a larger impact on the class.
And I'll just say, I haven't taught in person for 10 years, but that's what I miss as an instructor, is 15 minutes while I'm setting up for class and someone will come up and say, hey, did you see this? Or,
yeah.
You know, so even from the instructor's point of view, that can be a way to get, you know, just to get to know your students better.
Exactly, because I never meet any of my online students. When I first started and I was an adjunct and had all the time in the world, I would invite them for their final exam to come to the campus and kind of like just hang out and everybody interact and talk about things, and that was fun. But now I'm not an adjunct anymore. I have a lot more stuff, but I can't really do that anymore. But yeah, it really I've seen a lot of impact from it. Anything else? I think that was 3. All right, I like doing things with 3s. And then of course I have online resources. This is one of my favorite resources that helps students a lot. And it helps them, their writing, do better and everything. And that's the info guide that we have for HM 1020. Right now, I think there's a little bit of we're not sure if it's keeping or anything, but I still have it. But they click on that and it brings them right to all of the resources that they need for like research and writing and everything. And I go through all that in my in-person classes as well. But this is a really good way to have all that information there for them because students are less likely, I have found anyway, maybe it's different for you guys, but for some reason, just getting up and going to the library on their own and finding resources by themselves is kind of not something that they like doing. They like it to be right there in front of them so that they can access it quickly. And so this has been a really big help for all of my students, online and in person alike. And what it does is it brings up the research and all the articles and websites and everything that has to do with the humanities. So they're not like sorting through like psychology papers or nursing papers and things like that that might have those keywords in it. So everything in this resource for them gives them what they need. So that helps with engagement as well because then they have more resources to have better discussion boards. And in this class, I don't have papers, I just do discussion boards and they have to do it in essay format but then they read each other's essays and they respond to each other, and I'll show you that in a second. But that's with my written assignments. So this part, the way that I set up my assignments, I want them to be able to actively engage with one another through their own ideas and observations and things like that. So the first part of every essay is actually going to be the informative content, and that's when they just say, here's what I learned in class. No personal reflection, no comparison to everyday life, just the material for what it is, so I know you got it. But then the creative analysis section, which I really have to work with students on this because, like I said before, creative analysis is kind of scary for them because it's like they need permission to be able to, like, think in that way. And so what they do is they analyze and connect material to personal experiences, cultural observations, or modern day contexts, and highlight the relevance of the humanities, of course. And I say explore differences between the material and today's standards, or draw conclusions to other areas of the course. And then the cool thing about this creative analysis section that really brings out the participation of the students is that instead of having the essays just sent to me directly and grading them on my own, I grade everything on my own, that's not what I mean, but just me being the only one to see it is what I mean. Having them upload their essays into the discussion board and having them read each other's essays and respond, the critical analysis is usually what they kind of gravitate towards, because once they see somebody else interacting with the material that way, then they're like, oh, okay, I want to do that too. And so the online discussions is where the majority of the that active participation comes in. And so on my evaluations, I often have that they really like that they can look at other people's essays as well. Of course, in the discussion board, they have to post their own first, and then they can reply to other ones. Before they can see the other ones, they have to reply first, or put their original post up first. So with this, students will respond to one another. They have to respond in 150 words or more, because otherwise they'll just have, this is really great, I enjoyed reading this, that whole thing. But at first, I have to give some pretty heavy notes, because I'm like, I really need more from the creative analysis. Here's what you can do. I give feedback on every assignment, and whatever their grade is, they know exactly where those points went if they don't get full points. And so that's another way that I engage, is I always make sure to give some sort of feedback. Even if they get 100, I say, this was a great job, I really like this. And something that kind of eases the blow for worse grades, I don't want to say bad grades, it sounds negative. You know what I'm talking about. But I make sure that I talk to them a little bit more, and then people who have questions, the ones that are really struggling, we have like one-on-one, we can do Zoom meetings, we do email, we do the inbox over there, and also I have office hours, and so I have a lot of, not a whole lot, but actually I feel like I have more interaction with my online students through those mediums than I do with my in-person students, because they can just ask me stuff in class. But I have noticed that with all the different ways of communicating, I have more interaction with my online students as far as like emails and the inbox and all that stuff. So that's a big place where people engage with one another in those discussion boards. Any questions about that?
I actually do have
Yes.
a question, because I've tried to do this before, and one of my greatest frustrations is that the responses that you get are all positive. It's like, oh, I love how you did this, and you did such a great job of that. Do you have any suggestions on how you can actually get some critical analysis where people actually start going back and forth and disagreeing with
Yeah,
each other?
that is a big note that I give often. I'm like, please continue it. It needs to be discursive. It needs to have a conversation going where you add your own thoughts, your own feelings. So take what they have and build on it. And at first, there'll be paragraphs long of, I really liked how you did this, because when you explained this, I understood it better. And then when you explained this, I understood it better. And I really think that you did a great job with your MLA formatting. And I'm like, that is my job. It's my job to grade your papers. I want you to give your own feedback. So whenever I give that feedback, it usually takes a couple of weeks before people really catch on. But when they see, oh, my grade could be better if I wasn't just complimenting people left and right, when I actually engage in the material, I get better grades. So just a big thing is open communication, and make sure that you're telling them exactly, step by step, what they need to do. So that's what's worked for me anyway. Does anybody else have anything that they've done that works? Yeah.
So I require 2 different kinds of discussion posts, and one is the informative one where you, and it's not clear whether you're doing this already, but it's, you respond directly to the text we're reading or the image we're looking at or the film or whatever. And there is a list of 20 some odd prompts, and you choose 3 to 5. And spare us all and do not try to respond to all 20.
Oh, yeah.
But they choose 3, 4, 5 prompts to respond to, and that's enough to give them something to work with, for 200, 300 words. And then they're also required to respond to each other, and that's where I read the same thing out of the reader, and I really like what you said here, or I saw it this way.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, guys, I'm glad that you're so positive towards one another, but and you can agree and add things on,
They do. And they don't, when they try to critique each other, I found that students at the survey level, they don't know how to strike the right tone. And so it's either overly complimentary or absolutely savage in a way that's unproductive. You have to teach them the compliment sandwich. I like how you did this. Here's what you need to do better. I like how you did this other thing.
I call it a Borella burger, because I say something nice, here's what you screwed up. And I say it nicely, of course, I don't say it. I do the same thing. I give them several prompts to choose from, and then they choose one prompt to do for their essay, and then they have to choose students who have done other questions. So they're addressing a total
So
of
when
3
you talk
questions.
about an essay, you're referring to the discussion post.
Yes, because I have them do their essays in the discussion board. That way it's more interactive for them, and they're not doubling up doing an essay and a discussion board every week. That's a lot, right? And I only have to have them do 4,000 words.
We do discussion forums every week and then 2 major essays.
Okay.
Plus the final, which is essays.
Yeah, my final is self-grading, because by that point in the semester I'm just dead. So now I want to show you what these, and of course I have writing etiquette here to make sure that everyone is interacting appropriately. It's just the basic, netiquette type stuff. And then this is my discussion board rubric. There. Right. Oh, and then I have weekly quizzes. This is just saying you take a weekly quiz. There's nothing really interesting in that. And then the final exam is going to be I'm changing it to a presentation from an exam. Right now it's an exam, but it's going to be a presentation because I missed those and exams are boring. So, no offense to exams. I do them all the time, but I like grading presentations because it's a little more fun. But here is what and then there's a study guide and an extra credit. I give them 3 opportunities to go and engage with the community by going to, seeking out and going to a humanities-related event. We have a lot of those at the Maddie Kelly, so they have lots to choose from. I also have a list of things that they can go. There's a Buddhist monastery in Fort Walton that they can go to. There are art galleries. There's the gallery here. They can go to museums. They can go wherever they want. All they got to do is write about 250 words about their experience. It's not as structured as the discussion boards. It's just a little bit more free flowing. But I'll give them an extra point for each one of those on their final grade. So if they do all 3 opportunities, they get 3 extra points on their final grade. So it's really helpful for students who are like right at the cusp of a C, but they're kind of still on a D, and they're like, do that. All right, so now I'm going to show you how I structure the week. That's all the information stuff, but my weekly modules are set up like this: week 1, week 2, week 3, etc., etc. And within these, I always have directions first. So week 1 directions, week 2 directions. The first week is a little bit different from the other weeks because I have more of sort of getting to know you kind of thing. I only have 1 question for them to ask. But I also have an introduce yourself part, so that kind of makes it so that I'll just click on it so you can see what they do. my directions in here. Hello, brilliant students. Please introduce yourself to your fellow classmates. Professor Borella, very open. They can say whatever they want. They can introduce themselves in as many or as little words as they want, because I hate writing my own bio. Every year for portfolios, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't like talking about myself. But they kind of have a way of introducing themselves and getting to know one another, and they have to, of course, talk to one another. But this kind of leads into like the forum and stuff, because once they introduce themselves, then they're like, okay, and then they start recognizing each other's work, and I've got like responses that say, oh, I'm excited to read what you write next week. So they start kind of gravitating towards one another as well. So that's the introduce yourself part. And then my first lecture is called What are the Humanities? And they're just going to answer for the informational section. It says, what are the humanities that we talked about in this lecture? And then the creative analysis section is, where do you see these things in the world today? Which is a really fun thing for me to read, because I get to see all of their ideas popping out. So they're starting out with thinking about stuff outside of the box a little bit. Then I have these things that I got from one of my professors in graduate school called the sneak peek. And what it does is it just basically tells you like what's going to happen in the next chapter. And there's like funny songs or little videos and stuff. This just happens to be a song by a guy named Mr. Nicky, who is a middle school teacher, and he put together all of these little, this isn't exactly what I have for all of them, but I have Mr. Nicky in a lot of them, but he does these parody songs. He takes popular music and then he puts history over it, and it's really, I'm going to show you just a little bit. I won't play the whole thing, but it's fun.
Because I taught Alexander the Great, I'm the great Aristotle. Alexander the Great, I'm the great Aristotle. Alexander the Great, I'm the great Aristotle. Alexander the Great, I'm so great, 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 great. If you're a polytheist, you should be thanking Zeus for all the Greek achievements that they've passed down to you. Cause you got democracy from the folks in Athens. Our alphabet is from the Phoenicians. Minoans and Mycenaeans worked at the sailing trade. Round in Acropolis, they build a city.
So I just have like a funny little thing, and it has information about the unit we're going into, and it kind of gives them a little bit of a fun reprieve. And I had that with one of my graduate professors, and it kind of made it feel a little bit more homey. So I like having that in there, and I have had students who comment, you know, I really like the sneak peek. It kind of got me ready for the next week and got me excited about the material. So it's just another way to kind of make them feel a little less stagnant in the online experience. You guys should look him up though later. It's great. So that's week 1, but week 2 is when it really gets into it, the way that I have it set up here. First of all, the directions are going to be a roadmap for them that they just kind of like a checklist, and it's going to be set up the exact same way every time. It says a read, a watch, a study guide, discussion board, and quizzes. And then of course down here I say, as always, if you have any questions, please post them in the forum so we can share and build our collective wealth of knowledge. And remember that I'm only an email away, Professor Borella, and then I have the course objective, or the chapter learning objectives down there. So what they do with all of the subsequent weeks after week 1, because week 1 is a little bit different. There we go. I have the lectures up here, and then they get study questions for each chapter, and those study questions are what they're going to answer. So they choose a study question from either one of the, because the 2 chapters are going to be covered. And so this is an 8-week course, and the way that I cover all the material in it is I do 2 chapters in one, but they only pick 1 question from one of the chapters. And then when they're choosing students to respond to, they have to pick someone who chose a question from the other chapter, and then a third question that they answer from either one. So that way they're engaging with the material from both chapters and talking about it and writing about it. And like I said, usually after about the 3rd week, they start getting a little bit more critical analysis-y with their responses to other students, because at first, like you were talking about, he's like, yeah, this is really great, I loved how you explained that, because now I understand it so much better. And I'm like, you're telling me nothing. that's how I get all that material into just 8 weeks. Is I double up the chapters, but I have them do the same amount of work as if they were in a traditional 16-week course. So they're able to get all the material without that extra work. They just are addressing it through the responses rather than doing an essay for every single chapter. So. And the responses have to be rather long, they'll have to be longer, at least 150 words, so that they can get into something other than I liked your post. If I have to read one more, which I will, but whatever. So they have 9 for this one. Usually they have about between 5 and 10 questions. Greece is a little bit more involved, so they have 9 questions on that one. But there we go. But that's how I put everything in there. And of course there's quizzes, there's their discussion board, the quizzes, and then those sneak peeks every week there.
So are your lectures just PowerPoint slides, or that's actually video of you?
It's video of me giving the actual lectures. I did all of my in-person lectures on Zoom so that I could convert it into a YouTube video, and then I upload the link into Canvas to the YouTube video of my lectures. So they're getting the same exact lectures that they would get if they were in an in-person class. So I recorded them in my office though, so they don't have to I didn't record a class, so they don't have to hear the other students talking or me just babbling on about whatever the students reminded me of, Yeah, so then, anybody have any questions so far? Yeah.
Back to your hallway discussion forum.
Yeah.
Do you ever have office hour type of questions, like questions on the content, like I don't understand this? Or is it just when does this due?
Oh yeah, people will ask each other clarification on the directions, and they're like, how am I supposed to write this? What do you guys think about that? And then I can always go in there and either direct them to where those answers are, or answer the question if it's a completely unique one, which they're really good at coming up with. So.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because I have a few forms that they can, it's not graded, and they can weigh in, but they have to do something. They have to do a hands-on activity, like cell division, right?
Oh, okay.
And then share your work, snap a picture of it, and but nobody does it.
Oh.
So, and then I have a lot of students email well, I don't understand, I'm not doing well. Okay, well, let's meet by Zoom. Radio silence.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. I mean, at a certain point, you can have everything laid out for them and ready for them, and if they don't want to do it, they're just not going to engage. So there's always the students that I'm like, come on, say something, but
I wonder if that hallway discussion forum would be open office hours, as in everybody in this class is the expert and can help answer the question. You know what I mean? So I wonder if they would be more engaged in biology and that. Yeah.
How did you figure out how to?
What stage of mitosis is this? You know what I mean?
They can ask questions
I have to meet with the instructor on Zoom. I didn't think I was that intimidating, but
I'm really intimidating.
Yeah, but they don't. I mean, some do, but you know what I mean. It's just
I don't have a whole lot of Zoom. I just had one the other day, but it could have been an email.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I've bribed people with extra credit. I put an Easter egg in the syllabus, and if you set up an appointment with the professor on Zoom or in office hours, you'll get a bonus point on your final.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
In a few people every year, the ones who are reading carefully.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to get them to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Nice. So the last thing I want to share with you, let's see, is week 8. I do a final presentation, and the directions are in here, and the submission is in here. And again, they watch each other's presentations, and they comment on it, and they have to watch 2 other presentations and submit their own. And so that's another way for them to be able to witness each other's work. And I've found in the past, I took it away for a couple of semesters, but I want to put it back in. So they can interact with each other in a different way because they're watching another person's work and they can see each other, unless if they decide not to have their face on there, which is totally fine. But it's just a nice last little way of them being able to see one another, interact with one another, and engage with the material through a different medium besides just the written word. So that's what I got for you. What questions do you have for me?
Have you ever done group work? Like try to set up an online class group work?
Not yet. I've been trying to like figure out how I'd want to do that. I've done group work in my face-to-face classes, like having them do presentations together, where if they did do group work, like the presentation, I have them do a annotated bibliography that each one of them writes that, and then I address it differently, individually for that. I don't know if that answers anything.
Yeah.
I have, and it has been challenging.
Yeah, so, I mean.
I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet, but I did it for the first time this semester, and it has really been challenging.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, I was like, it's just, the online modality is just hard. It's just hard. So it's kind of like obvious saying that, but that's why I want to hear, to hear your presentation, but.
It is difficult to like establish the same rapport that you get with face-to-face students, since you never actually get to meet your students, which is always kind of like, man, I'd really like to know what these people are like and what they look like and all that. So that's one of the things I like about the little things that I've implemented. It does make it feel a little less static and a little less just robotic, and you're not by yourself. You're by yourself, but you're not alone, sort of a feel is what I hope to foster in my online classes.
I just wonder, like you say, like they don't like talking on the phone.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's a big reason why they want to take an online class, so they don't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and like meet with the instructor. It's like, well, I want to help you, but I can't.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of, yeah, exactly. So, and I get, online, like it's at their pace, and, not traditional students and things like that. But I just wonder if maybe the lack of engagement might have to be with, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Like,
it could be just very introverted people, and that's fine too. So, I mean, that's what online is for people like, for all different reasons, but one of those is maybe somebody doesn't like talking in class and this is more comfortable for them.
Right.
So I also have to keep that in mind whenever I'm interacting with other students, because some students might not really need that much interaction as other students might. Speaking of, go ahead.
Just one thing, like from a student perspective, now I have had classes where we had group projects, but it was a synchronous online class. So we were meeting for like 2 or 3 hours, and part of that time we got together in groups, and they could split us up into teams and different rooms for the groups. And that is the only time that it has ever worked. Every time we've done like asynchronous model, I was like, well, no, I got to work here, I got to work there. And so no one can get together in an asynchronous model because there's no one set meeting time that works.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah, I found that too, because a lot of times people like me, I was not even in the same state as the other students that I was interacting with. So I do have a funny phone call conversation that I want to share. Well, it wasn't a conversation, it was a voicemail on my phone in my office. A student called up, and all I heard was, I don't know what to do. And his mom saying, just leave a message. I don't know how to leave a message. I've never left a message before. She's like, just say something, and then he hangs up. So I saved that on my phone because I was like, that's brilliant. So, what other questions do you have for me?
I just want to throw something out there. I'm not teaching anymore, but I taught for quite a while. And in regards to what you said about the feedback and how to get people, one thing I was kind of at my breaking point after 3 years of, this is so great. And I'm like, that's not a response.
Yeah.
That's just a statement. I started formatting, I called it a grow format. And so like you, I picked 3s, and I was like, okay, it is a part of your grade. To get full points, you have to detail out 3 parts where they were glowing, like what they did so well, and you can change it to wherever you want, and in 3 areas where they could grow. And I had a template in my course that would say, here's some ways you can start a grow sentence without being aggressive, because I did get some of those, and I didn't really like that. And I'm like, that's okay, calm down. Like, let's say it in a nice way. And it would say, like, I appreciated this, but one way you could possibly improve this is, and so the Glow Grow worked really well, and students got so much more comfortable giving feedback. By the end of the semester, you would see, they would say, okay, well, I got this grow feedback on these 2, so by the time I got here, and they would incorporate it. And it wasn't so negative, And I've seen teachers call it other things, but I stole the Glow Grow from another teacher that I saw at a conference, and I was like, that's my thing, I'm taking it.
That's a good
And
idea.
so it was, when they started realizing I can't just do the Glow or I'm gonna get half points, I have to do the Grow, they started, and you would see the self-conscious, like at the beginning, they would be like, I still think it was great, but you maybe just an idea, you don't have to do it. And it was like, there was like so much self-conscious, like, nonsense in there, and I was like, just say it nicely, but say it, it's okay. And by the end, they would be like, good idea, however, I think, and I'm like, okay, there we go, we're getting somewhere. So I do think just, it's how you kind of present it to them, but make it a requirement for the grade, and all of a sudden, they're gonna have a lot of feedback for their classmates.
That's a great, I'm gonna do that, because I'm so
It's kinda
tired
fun.
of them being like, your works cited could have been formatted a little bit differently because you didn't do this or that and whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my job. You're taking it from me. And then I'm like, looking at their formatting, I'm like, your formatting is off. You need to do these things. Don't give that advice to anyone ever again. I don't say it that way at all. Any other questions or comments or feedback for me or anything? Great. I have 5 minutes left. I did it. I didn't know if I'd get through the whole hour. No, well, thank you for coming and listening to me talk for a little bit.